Everybody knows that Palafin is kind of a problem. It starts off as a little baby dolphin, but when switched out and then back in, its ability allows it to come back as a legendary level superhero monster. While it's got all around great stats, its insane base 160 attack is what truly makes this thing broken. But that's what everybody expects. So what if we worked with its not too shabby base 106 special attack instead? Is this a good idea? Probably not, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So we're first gonna whip out the strong 140 power normal move, Boom Burst. This activates the throat spray item since it's a sound-based move, and now we're in business. We can pull out Terra Normal to boost up the Boom Burst, but when we're not spamming it, we can run with Stab Surf, coverage in Ice Beam, or even Aura Sphere. Special Palafin only really has the benefit of the surprise factor on its side, but today it's time to show that it doesn't matter what this dolphin does, it's gonna be broken. Alright, look, Palafin checks almost all of the boxes. First of all, it's a dolphin Pokemon, which we've all been waiting for a long time. It's got a unique ability, and it's really strong. The problem is, I just kind of hate how the thing looks when it goes into hero form. I can't be the only one, so I don't know. Today, regardless, we're gonna show the boy some love. And of course, in this channel's fashion, we are not gonna be doing it in the traditional way, because that would be entirely too strong. So, if that sounds like a fun time to you, you should at least consider clicking that subscribe button. I got plenty more where that came from. And with that, let's jump into the match. Alright, so my opponent decides to lead off straight up with the Iron Hands. And, that's a bit scary. I am just a baby-ass little dolphin, and of course, I have to lead with this thing. I need to switch it out, so the next time it comes in, we will then strike fear into the opponent's heart. So, looking at this matchup, obviously, the only thing I can really go into would be the Mamoswine. Now, I'm Focus Sash, so if they do make the prediction, I know I can at least take one of them. As I bring in the Swine, I'm like, hey, what a beautiful day to be alive. Then boom, immediate Drain Punch by the biggest metal fist in the game. And yeah, they make the nice play there, going for the Drain Punch. I do at least live it with the Sash, and as I'm looking at this, I've got two options, right? Either I can set up my Stealth Rock, or I can go for the Earthquake. Now, I decide to go straight for the Stealth Rock. I'm thinking they likely switch out here, not wanting to take a big ol' Earthquake. It turns out instead, Thicky stays in, and as I set up my rocks, I am now just in danger of a second Drain Punch, and that's a dead Mamoswine. Now, looking at this, a little bit of a risky maneuver on my end, because my squad has pretty much nothing to do now to an Iron Hands, and that is not necessarily ideal. Now, one thing I can do is go into the Grim Shady. I bring in the Bramble Gas, we're looking happy, we're tumbling around. But mostly, I need this thing to lock in. It's actually no time for fun and games and tumbling around. I need to at least get some amount of chip on this damn hand, because I'm gonna have a hard time. Now, I go for the Poltergeist, and it misses, which is very cool. So, not only that, but then they have the coverage with the Fire Punch. Didn't even really punch, open-handed punch right to the face, and yeah, that kills me. So, down goes Bramble Gas for nothing, and I'm down just 6-4 immediately just like that. And also looking at what I've got left, I truly... I'm down pretty bad at this point. I have nothing to really touch this thing. But I do have a plan. Now, going into Pelipper is not generally looking nice here, but it's needed. So, first of all, I can set up the Drizzle. I need the Rain Up, and as I do at least connect on a Hydro Pump, I get the damage that I need. Again, I needed to weaken this thing to the point where maybe Palafin now has a position, and as they kill me with a Thunder Punch, just like that, their lead has now taken care of half of my team. What they failed to prepare for, however, was Superman Dolphin. I go 0 to hero, I'm looking all crazy, and now we're in the rain, so I've got some rain boosted damage on my water attacks. But first of all, I need to ensure that this thing dies. Now, one way I do that is to go for the Terra Normal. I need to boost up this Boom Burst as much as possible. Before the Throat Spray activates, I'm just afraid of this thing being, for some reason, Assault Vest, or I don't know what the hell Buddy's working with, but all I know is that I need this thing dead. So I put some bling on, I go for the Boom Burst, and that does kill it. So Iron Hand's dead. We do not get fully swept by the lead hands, and that feels pretty good. Now, also looking at this, the reason why I go Pelipper there is that, I'm kind of now in a spot where after this Throat Spray boost, Palafin kind of goes crazy. Now, hear me out. So, as they end up bringing in the Blastoise here, there's two types of Blastoises in this world. Either it's going to be defensive with Rapid Spin, or it's going to be Shell Smash. Now, neither of those are necessarily ideal, but I'm really hoping that it's going to be more of a support guy, because as I now go for a Boom Burst, I got Terra Normal boosted, I have +1 special attack, I yell at him, I expect a kill, and it lives with 2 HP. which absolutely ties my dolphin nuts in a knot. But what doesn't is the fact that they then go for the rapid spin. So reveals that it's going to be, you know, more support there. And even with the +1 speed boost, I'm able to then outspeed, continue to fire off another boom burst. And that's going to take care of the turtles. So hey, now we're kind of rolling with the Palafin here. With Blastoise gone, it's fine. They get rid of the Stealth Rock, so there's potential sashes back there that could be annoying. But now as they go into Altaria, one good thing we have with the Palafin on our side is, A, nobody expects it to be special attacking anyway, and they're probably thinking, I don't know what the hell this thing is going to throw at me. Now, Altaria, it has the ability to take attacks. What it cannot do is take an Ice Beam. I'm able to fire off the +1 Ice Beam, and that is going to take care of the Cotton Swab Dragon. So hey, Altaria gone. Now I'm looking at it thinking we might just be able to pull this back just straight up with Palafin, and that would be the craziest thing ever. So now as they end up bringing in Overquill. Now this thing is probably not going to be Swift Swim considering they don't have their own range. So I'm thinking I can outspeed here, and we're just going to purely rely on the sheer power of Boom Burst with a +1 special attack and the Terra Normal, and that just straight up obliterates the thing. We pop him like a balloon, and just like that, the game is completely turned around. Special attacking Palafin now going on an absolute tear. And speaking of tear, we got a Torterra. And this thing is, here's the thing. I'm kind of afraid of the fact that they haven't used their Terra yet. So rather than going for the Ice Beam, I decide to Boom Burst. I'm thinking surely it's going to bust out the Terra Fire. That would be sick. But it turns out they just click Protect. I Boom Burst, they protect it, and, you know, no harm done. I'm also looking at it thinking Boom Burst has a chance to kill here, not exactly sure. But I'm going to continue firing off bursts. It's just my best damage, even better than rain boosted Surfs. But now they decide to switch into Chandelure. They see I'm going for the Boom Burst. They end up bringing in the Chandelure, which is fine. And we've got Buddy's back is against the wall. Palafin is such a good mon that you can use it literally in the opposite way of its design, and it's still insane. So the rain does go away. That's probably why they saved this swap in for this turn, because the rain had one turn left. But I can go for a Surf here, and check it out. They are able to outspeed with the Choice Scarf, with the Flamethrower, able to do maximum damage without having to worry about the rain. But I'm able to live it because this thing's thick as hell, and then I fire off the Surf, and that is enough to kill the Chandelure. So gotta be just about the craziest Uno reverse possible, and Palafin absolutely doing it to him. So back comes Torterra, gonna be their final mon. All I gotta do is just predict that Terra, hit it with a Boom Burst. They do not Terra, still. Must not have the defensive Terra there. And as I go for the Boom Burst, thinking it might kill anyway, it lives it with 1. So, you know, that is a little anticlimactic because we do go down to a Trailblaze. They bust out the Trailblaze, gets it +1 speed. It shouldn't matter. Now, while we do go down in a heroic fashion, Palafin coming through. I did not expect it to pop off like that. And it's funny that we didn't even really need the rain. Regardless, though, Palafin kind of the GOAT. Now, I've got 2 mons left. Torterra is literally hanging on by a damn thread over there. All I've got to do is go into the Talonflame. And it didn't matter if this thing had 10 Trailblazes, because I have Gale Wings. I'm always going to be able to go first. As they protect just to save their last breaths of air, for, I guess, no reason at all. I go for the Brave Bird. It's not going to be able to knock it out. But at full health, our Gale Wings Brave Bird is going to be able to come out. And this Torterra doesn't have much of a shot. So it's going to get one last little meal, a little bite of an half-eaten apple, which is appetizing. But I go for the Brave Bird. That is going to be able to finish off the Torterra, and that is the end of the game. So look, from the start, it was looking pretty grim. I did not have a great start there. But Palafin entirely responsible for the dub on that one, and that's going to do it for the first battle. I thought that was just kind of crazy. And Boom Burst is just, if you get Boom Burst, you're just set sometimes. But that's now going to bring us into game number 2, because that's how we roll around here. Look, if you've stuck around this far into the video, I will say, hey, go ahead and hit that like button for me. It really does. I bet you haven't clicked it, and so you could just help me out and click that. Now, looking at my opponent's team, they've got some scary threats and interesting stuff, but I have a Dolphin. So am I afraid? Yeah, you know, I am actually kind of afraid because I'm using the far worst option for it anyway. But let's get into it. So this time my opponent straight up decides to lead off with the Toxapex, hits me with a Peekaboo, and I have, you know, once again, an adorable little dolphin who needs to just be here to say hey and then come back ugly later. So, of course, I have literally no business staying in, so I am forced to swap, and guess what? It feels like Mamoswine's, once again, just my best swap in here. So as I bring it in, the good thing about this turn 1 switch in that I often do with this Mamoswine is that, you know, I come in before hazard setup, so I maintain my Focus Sash, and then I need this thing kind of as a lead anyway, so it's like a fake lead. I get up my Stealth Rock now. As they set up a layer of Toxic Spikes, I'm not super worried about it. I do have a Rapid Spinner in the form of the Bramblegast in the back. But for the most part, I'm just going to set up my Stealth Rock because I figure that thing is not really going to stay in it, unless it wants to Scald. But an Earthquake would hurt it. So as Young Meatball goes for the Stealth Rock here, they bring in the Quaquaval. And look, this Peacock is kind of the bane of my existence. It is a massive problem. Most of the time, I hate to see this thing come in. If it comes in on a matchup where you know it's going to be able to get a couple Aqua Steps and then kill you with a Moxie, things can go bad real quick. So here's the plan. Now, I decided to go for an Earthquake. I just need to basically get the damage on the thing. I get some huge damage there. While they hit me with an Aqua Step, that is not great because then they get the speed boost from it, and then, you know, they're going to be able to knock me out again on the next turn, and then they get a Moxie boost. But I'm thinking I can just go for an Ice Shard just in case it wants to crit for the kill there. It does not, but I mostly just sack the Mamoswine here. That's because, while ordinarily Quaquaval is at +2 speed and +1 attack, and the coverage that this thing has with its stab options, you're going to have a bad time. But you know who does not have a bad time? Is my Talonflame in the back. So it gets its Moxie, they're thinking, hey, I get myself a nice little Dragon Dance. But guess what? Talonflame does not let that shit happen. I bring in the Talonflame here with Gale Wings, and considering they do not have Stealth Rock up, I can get that priority Brave Bird off. And that comes in more clutch than you'd think a lot of the time. So I go for that Brave Bird, kills the Quaquaval. No dancing duck with their crazy sausage toes around here. And that's a sweep avoided right there. So Talonflame on this team is mostly here to set up a tailwind for things like the Bramblegast in the back, but hey, we'll take the Gale Wings kills to stop the lost when we need it. So now as they decide to bring back in the Toxapex here, I'm like, okay, I mean, at this point, I can kind of tailwind, and then honestly a hard swap into, it's probably not going to activate my eject button. As you see, they do go for the Baneful Bunker, which is fine. Because, you know, now I get up my tailwind for free, and I am not going to be touching your bunker full of banefulness. So I get up the tailwind, which you know, it is more optimal if I can bait them into touching me after, you know, setting that up, so I can eject button straight into the Bramblegast instead of having to hard switch. But honestly, I'm not super afraid of what this Pex wants to do anyway. So I decided to just bring in the Brambly Boy, and at +1 attack, a Power Whip still is going to do a huge amount of damage to this thing. So as I come in, I do get hit by the, you know, 1 layer of Toxic Spikes, which is fine because, you know, at least I don't have the bad poison, but I get my little attack boost from the Wind Rider, and now they set up their 2nd layer of T-Spike. So I'm looking at this thinking, okay, there's a chance that they want a hard switch here and not really want to deal with a Power Whip from a +1. But also, 2 layers of T-Spikes on my side is feeling like that's going to be a pretty big setback. So instead of going for the damage on turn 1, I figure I should be able to take 1 attack from this thing and go for a rapid spin to get rid of both of those spikes. So I go ahead and spin in a rapid fashion, and that takes care of the spikes there. Also gives me a +1 to speed, but as they end up going for the Venoshock, pulls out the straight up Stranger Things monster face, and it gets a critical hit, which hurts a lot because that puts me in range at 15 HP, where I'm just in range to die from this poison. And you know, that is not really ideal, not how I would have liked that to play out. But you know, as I get rid of the T-Spikes at least, it's kind of fine. And I'm like, you know what? You know who comes in here and is kind of funny in the process? Is Palafin. You know, ordinarily, any Palafin you've ever seen does not want to switch into a freaking Toxapex matchup, because obviously on the physical side, you don't have much to do to it. But a special attacking Boom Burst is going to do a nice little chunk. Even without the Throat Spray active, that's going to do a big old chunk. I get the Throat Spray. The throat is feeling good. That's why they call me the GOAT. And now they end up going for the Toxic Spike. That's another reason why bringing this thing in was relatively safe, is that they're going to waste a turn, you know, setting up a Toxic Spikes. With 1 layer, I can deal with. 2 is where it starts to get a little bit, you know, out of hand. Now, after a little bit of leftover recovery, this thing is at about half. Tailwind goes away, which shouldn't really matter. And as I'm looking at it here, I am going to go for the Terra Normal. First of all, I want to guarantee that thing dies. I think it dies regardless now that I have the boost. But honestly, a Terra Normal is a pretty decent play all around. It doesn't end up hindering any of my matchups on the rest of their squad. So I'm going to pull it out, and this Palafin's kind of the designated, you know, diamond wearer on the squad. I need to go for the Terra here just to get, if they swap, something's going to die. And as they bring in a Lurantis, that thing is sitting there just watching me get iced the hell out and then waiting for its imminent death here, because I put the Terra Normal on my dome, and the superhero Dolphin is now here to dish out some super loud death. So I go for the Boom Burst. This thing comes in and just gets deleted. That is going to be a dead Lurantis, which is fine. And now Palafin is relatively in a good spot. I was trying to potentially bait in something like Incineroar to intimidate it, would always be fun, but Now they know I'm special anyway, and as they bring in Whimsicott, I'm like, nice. Anytime I get an opportunity to click a little coverage Ice Beam, obviously that's going to be good. That's also why the Terra Normal is good, because the Giga Drain doesn't matter. It turns out, though, this thing is going to be Prankster Screens. Pulls out the Light Screen, which is unfortunate, and as I go for the Ice Beam, of course that Light Screen is going to allow it to live, which Whimsicott, annoying as hell. Now, they end up going for the Prankster Tailwind now. They're trying to do everything they can to stop the special Palafin, but I'm able to now just click Boom Burst. I know that kills regardless and also covers for a swap. But they stay in. That's going to take care of the Whimsicott, and hell yeah. We're still just logging kills with the super-ass Dolphin. Working our way towards a UAV, trying to get a little airstrike going. But as now they bring in the Mousehold, I am immediately like, okay, well, this is a dangerous spot to be in. And that's because of that light screen. Now, here's the interesting part. While I have the Aura Sphere, a Terra Normal boosted Boom Burst just does more damage anyway, but behind a light screen, Mousehold can live. Anything I can go for. And I know that they're going to click Tidy Up. And at +1 attack and speed, I am then in danger to dying to a population bomb, and not only that, but then my entire team gets swept by this damn family of mice. I'm trying to weigh all my options here, but realistically, it's not looking like I have anything to really do. Now, they go for the Tidy Up here. They're like, this place is a dump. There's toxic spikes on your side. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those. Little stones on their side. And so the best thing I can really do here is, you know, just click the Boom Burst for as much damage as possible. I'm kind of like, well, they got my ass with the mice, man. Sometimes they get you. Now, the Boom Burst does not kill because of the light screen. And now, I'm at full HP. Now, there's a chance. There is a chance that we can make it out of this alive. So check it out. They go for the population bomb. Judging by that first one, 10 should be able to grab the kill. Now, I'm gonna need you to pay close attention here. Check this out. The 6th one gets a critical hit, but it stopped. They only get the 6 hits, which then allows me to go for the Boom Burst, and that is gonna straight up eradicate the mice, and that is incredibly clutch. Now, the the population bomb is a move that's pretty misunderstood. A misconception is that it's a multi-hit move. That is incorrect. It's a move that is 20 power but hits 10 times. Now, the problem is that it's 90 accurate and it has a 10% chance to miss. But that 10% chance to miss can happen on each hit. So, you know, the odds of you hitting 10 times without a wide lens is pretty low. So, you know, we get lucky. We at least get lucky. The 6th one, we're able to live and kill the Mousehold, and now the game continues. So, as they end up bringing in Incineroar, I decide I want to keep the damn Palafin alive because that thing's the GOAT. Now, I was expecting a fake out, and as I bring in the Pelipper here, they end up just going for the knockoff, which is fine. But now I'm just like, you know what? I feel they have 2 Mons left. They have the Toxapex, they've got the Incineroar, and I'm thinking they likely switch out here. So what I can do is U-turn on this turn, and rather than going into Palafin to clean the game up, I feel like I end up having another pretty decent option. You check it out. So I go for the U-turn, obviously does nothing to the Pex. Also important to note, this thing is not Regenerator. By the looks of it, it's going to be Merciless, which is sick as hell, first of all. But one thing is, it seems like a pretty good opportunity to bring in the Braviary. Now, the reason for that is because knowing that they're going to have to bring in Incineroar later, or at some point, it's going to activate my Defiant with that Intimidate. And then all of a sudden, the Afraid of Me goes looking pretty scary. So, this thing's at about half HP. I'm thinking there's a good chance they go for a Baneful Bunker here, so expecting that, I am going to Agility. But, to my delight, they instead decide to switch into the Incineroar. And this is one of the good things about Braviary never being around, is that people forget about how clutch this thing is. It goes ahead and intimidates me, which, yeah, that sucks, but, and then Defiant immediately activates. Now gives me +2, and with the Agility, I have now doubled my speed and my attack. And they're probably like, well, I have gotten myself in a little bit of a pickle here versus the bird, because now, at +2 attack, I can get myself rolling with a Sky Attack. Now, they do have the Fake Out, just going to prolong the eminent American Death, but, you know, it does a little bit of damage there. Then I can fire off the Sky Attack. I do have the Power Herb to get it off immediately. If you haven't seen the Braviary video, go ahead and check it out. I go ahead and pull my extra set of wings out. Power Herb fully charges me up. And I thought that was going to kill, but it lives with 1. I don't know what the hell it is about things living with like 1 HP these days, but it lives. And as they go for the parting shot, that's a big confusion. They just give me another Defiant boost, and then since it drops both, it gives me a third Defiant boost. I'm now at +6 attack on the Braviary, and Buddy has absolutely done fucked up on that one. So, as they go into the Toxapex here, they're probably like, well, alright, I mean, there's not a better defensive guy to have out here, unless Unless you inadvertently just give me max attack. But he just straight up gives me the belly drum on that one. So now, since I've lost my item, I can go for the acrobatics here. And if you're this Toxapex, you're not having a fun time. They do go for the Baneful Bunker, which really doesn't matter. As I click acrobatics, regardless, it's my best bet here. I do touch the bunker, which is going to give me, you know, the poison there, which would potentially get this huge damage on a Venoshock to be able to get a merciless attack off. But even after some leftover, if this thing is, it's gonna be in danger. It does have quite a bit of health left. Even if it's max defense, it could still be a little bit scary, but I mean, look, this Braviary could not be set up any better. I now can just go for my stab acrobatics, base 110 power. That is gonna kill the Pex, and that's sick as hell. So, an unconventional way of taking care of a Toxapex, but you love to see it. As I take a little bit of poison damage, all they've got left is gonna be that Incineroar. The funniest part is, as young Rory comes back in, it's forced to just Intimidate. Now, it's annoying I don't have Stealth Rock up over there, because that can just end it for me. But, you know, Intimidate comes through, Defiant activates. I thought I was at +6. I don't know what the hell I'm even at this point, but I'm Defiant as shit out here. Now, they go for another Fake Out just because it's going to be able to stall out another turn, and then they're like, come on, Poison, do 88 HP damage? It does not, obviously, but now I can just go ahead, click the acrobatics, finish the game, and that is going to do it. So I thought that was just an interesting match there. Some interesting plays kind of on both ends. But yeah, had a lot of fun with this one. Messing around with, you know, Special Palafin was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. I've been reluctant to bust out the Palafin because that thing is just crazy and overpowered. But hey, if you use it on the worst way, it turns out it's still actually pretty good. And yeah, with that, I will catch you guys next time. Thank you very much for the support, and peace.